I think I'm just about awake. What do you think? Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. This morning was a little bit unpleasant for me. Reminds me of a time at one of my other companies I used to work for. Because normally I have a fair few alarms after what happened at one of them, where basically I try to avoid this shit happening again. So I usually have an alarm at like 6, 6:20, 6:25, 30, 35. Have 4 fucking alarms. Yet I was somehow still able to oversleep. Okay, it was only by like 20 minutes and I was still able to get to work on time, but it's still scary to think that just because I accidentally press turn off rather than snooze, I nearly end up being late. But of course you didn't come here to find out about my digit accuracy and my slacking off in bed. I want to talk a bit more about Farage, the Reform Party. I also want to talk about Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe and what have you. But do you know what this whole situation reminds me of? There's actually a guy who it reminds me of all too well from, I'm trying to think, I believe it was Rambo 4, which was the British SAS dude, former SAS, who ends up opening up on some Christian guy saying, God didn't save your life, we did, now fucking get up. And those words are echoing in my eardrums right now. Without naming people, I think too many people have too much faith in the man upstairs. I accept that this place was built on Judeo-Christian heritage. I do accept that this was a Christian country. However, we can't rely on God. God, I'm nearly getting run over already. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, God is merely a deity people worship. He's not real, he's merely fictitious. Did God effectively allow us to win World War I and II? No. Did God help us out when Tommy Robinson was imprisoned falsely? Or continues to be imprisoned to this day? No. Can God help me lose weight? No, I think I'm too far gone for that anyway. But jokes aside, there are too many people who put their faith in God. Too many people who will have nothing but disappointment when the time comes. People need to understand, this is not a bloody spiritual battle we're fighting. This is a battle between good and evil. And it's very physical and it's very bloody real. Yes, I accept we should be preaching Christian values, but does that mean we should be overly worshipping the man or woman upstairs, depending upon which way you look at them? The only way I could ever truly start believing in God is if I had an NDE or near-death experience and saw the man or woman upstairs in plain sight during my time in whatever coma I'm in. And I told him I want a buzz cut, not a fucking regular haircut. Anyway, the fact is, this battle is not going to be won by God. It's not going to be won with faith. It's going to be won with boots on ground. Just like any other war, quite frankly. And you know what? Fuck it. If God, if he truly exists, is offended, he can strike me down right now. Oh look, I'm still here. That's not to say that I don't have basically sympathy or empathy for Christianity. But what I am saying is that putting your hope in a deity only leads to disappointment. Don't worry, mate. I can't move so far. God. Trying to get out of the way, unfortunately. I can only move so quickly. Anyway, the bottom line of that particular subject is I know where I'm putting my faith. And I'm putting that faith squarely with the indigenous British people, and more importantly, with Nick Tanconi, who I have actually reinstated my membership with, because I believe Nick Tanconi is the right answer, quite frankly. And quite frankly, I am proud of Nick Tanconi for having the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to be able to do what Nigel Farage and Lee Anderson and Richard Tice and Anne Widdecombe do not have the backbone to do. If I've said it already, I'll say it here again. I think his decision to storm the BBC's offices and shame them in their own office showcasing what they do, pissing our taxpayer taxpayer money up the wall, was an absolutely ingenious move. Likewise, I think he's made the right decision by calling for people in reform who have been disappointed with the shit that Farage has spewed to come and join UKIP. Fucking hell, and there goes a bus that I wasn't actually expecting. Is that early? Yeah, it is, 10 minutes early. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, Nigel Farage is losing more and more of the core voter base with each passing day. More and more people are waking up to the fact that Nigel Farage is not the man he likes to portray himself as. He is another one of the people who wears many masks of deception and will only be content when he's screwed over the British people, making them think that he's the right man for the job. It's kind of sad to think that I actually had a conversation with him on LBC about Brexit, about how the Scottish Parliament basically couldn't take themselves out of the EU because they were under jurisdiction from the UK. Sorry, England. Oh, is that a two-tier police or is that an ambulance? No, it's definitely the two-tier police, currently stuck up in traffic. And Nigel Farage certainly didn't do himself any favours when he started to pull the race card. Because he then decided to go on a tirade at the last conference, basically saying there's a lot of online abuse towards one of our directors. Let's face it, we all know it was the Yusuf, or maybe I was right first time, the Islamic wanker who owns 50% of the shares of Reform, so it may as well be called the Conform Party at this point, quite frankly. He had the audacity to say that people were racist because they basically wouldn't make any comment on the issue. Though devil's advocate here, I do think it might have actually been aimed at the mainstream media more than the indigenous public, as they do have a history of only calling out racism when it's any other party other than a party led by Nigel Farage. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. So I can see it from that perspective of, yeah, I can understand why he's frustrated at the media who don't actually comment on the other parties being openly racist. I mean, they certainly didn't comment on, what was his name, fucking Hamza Useless. Sorry, Yusuf again. It's deja vu all over again. Sorry, guys. Feels like the Matrix. Anyway, Hamza Useless decided to go off on that massive tirade about white people when he was labelling different positions and people in them, and he was showcasing how each and every one of them is white. Well, I could do the bloody same thing to people of a certain Islamic community. So, where do we begin? Stroke number one. Where do we begin with? Well, what about the guy who's the councillor in Bristol, or mayor of Bristol? He's Islamic. The mayor of London, Islamic. Head of the justice system in the UK, Islamic. The guy who was the former leader of the SNP, yeah, this one's for you, Hamza, Islamic. That's just to name a few of them. I'm sure if I dug up a few more names, I could probably come up with a few more people who are part of the so-called religion of peace. I mean, we have an Islamic Council of Britain, which they label as Muslim Council of Britain. But we all know it's not really a Muslim council, it's an Islamic council, because they're planning to take over the country and put us all under a caliphate, as we all know all too well. But according to Nigel Farage, we don't need mass deportations. We don't need to sort out this problem with radical Islam. No, what we need to do is call people out for being racist, even though, as we all know, you can call a monk, but that's not racism. Calling somebody a monk for racism is absolute lunacy, and it stands to reason why calling someone who is a Muslim racist is nothing but an absolute lie. Islam is a religion, and you cannot be racist against a religion. And I wouldn't have expected Nigel Farage to fall for this trap, like a lot of other mainstream media shills do, as well as, of course, the crooked people in the Uni Party. And Keir the traitor Starmer won't admit to being openly racist towards the British people, because he knows full well it would destroy his credibility, just like that. Because he is effectively looking after one section of the community, and that religion of peace, is that section of the community. Now, apparently, there is some idea that maybe Rupert Lowe, stroke number 2, Rupert Lowe could rejoin Reform. But I honestly believe he's far too good for that lot. Yes, I'm using Richard Tice's words. Fucking sue me. Because that lot in Reform decided to openly slander us, decided to slander Tommy Robinson, decided to slander Rupert Lowe, and any other person who stood up to Nijel-al-Faraji. So I'm going to put this little bit next, directly for Nigel-al-Faraji. You're a fucking moron. That goes directly from me to him. You can tell him Matthew Fairhurst thinks he's a fucking moron. Because that's what he is at this point. He has sold his party's core voters out. He has sold out the British people for Islamic gold. He has sold it out for the religion of peace. And he doesn't give a damn what we think. I honestly couldn't fucking care less. Reform have made their bed, and now they have to lie in it, quite frankly. But a lot of people in Reform openly want to basically, well, they want to rebel. They want to leave Reform because they see what's going on. They see what Nigel Farage has become. They can see the lies that he's done, the character assassination he's pulled, and effectively the lack of a backbone that Nigel Farage has. Think about the way he disbanded us, the way he turned his back when we needed him most during the Brexit campaign. Yeah, we may have gotten the Brexit itself, but where was he to hold the Tories' feet to the fire? To make sure that we didn't end up getting a Brexit in name only. He was like my chances of getting a love life back in the past. Nowhere to be seen. Nigel Farage really does suffer from a massive messiah complex, and he needs to get off his high horse and realise where the wind is blowing. And where stroke number 3, where that wind is blowing is not in Reform's direction. He has to understand he has made some substantial mistakes with the British people, and he needs to make amends. I mean, between the dementia claim and the fact that now he's starting to say anybody who criticises Zia Youssef is now a racist, he has really lost his way. I've said it before, and I'll say it here again. I am nearly certain that Reform is cooked. There is no shot that party can continue in good faith with Nigel the phony Farage at the helm. His time has been spent. His shot has been fired, and he failed to hit the mark. Why else do you think Nick Tenconi realises this and is calling upon people who want to disband Reform or who are uncomfortable with the decisions of Reform? Why do you think he's calling for people to join UKIP? Because he has a nice bow tie? No, I don't think so. It effectively boils down to Nick Tenconi is the only man who has a backbone that is willing to make the hard decisions, has very hardline policies that basically make him a bit of an enigma. They make him someone who is more than willing to make the tough choices and literally says, I don't care, when asked, what do you think other people would think of your policies? That is a man of principle. That is a man of gusto. That is a man who understands where our problems are. And when he says, we will kick out the hardline left, the hardline Islamists, when he says we will close the borders and freeze them for 5 years, that is a man who, to me, sounds like a real leader. Not like these 50 pence ponces that we have right now. And certainly not like Keir the traitor Starmer. There are people, of course, who will disagree with this, and they're more than entitled to their opinions. The way I look at it is Keir the traitor Starmer is destroying the country. Nigel the phony Farage is effectively handing our country to Islamists as well, because of the fact he wants to back Zia useless. And any person who has common sense, he decides to kick out the party just like that. That, to me, makes him very questionable at best. As I said, this is why I have signed back up to UKIP. It's why I think that Nick Tenconi is the right person for the job. And what's sad is there will be a lot of people hating from Reform over on Nick Tenconi, or people who want to vote Tenconi, who will say, oh, but you're going to split the vote. oh, we've got to win this. We've got to win this vote. Well, let me tell you something, and here's the cold, bitter truth that some of you may not fucking like, quite frankly. And that cold, bitter truth is this. Winning will mean nothing if we get the same shit all over again. Because that is what Nigel Farage's Reform Party is now becoming. I think that scene from Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, you were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them, springs to mind. In this case, he was supposed to destroy the status quo and destroy the mainstream parties, the uni party, not join them. That's effectively what Nigel Farage is doing right now. He is effectively joining the uni party. He is effectively another side of the two cheeks of the same arse scenario. You can choose not to accept it all you want, but don't say you weren't told. Because some people, when it came down to conspiracy theories, their pronouns were told you so. Well, that's going to be my pronouns, the way I look at Nigel the phony Farage and the Reform Party. If they get in power, don't say I didn't warn you. The way I look at Reform, their promises now are about as foolproof as a candle in the wind. Their plans are as waterproof and as watertight as a bottomless bucket. It's kind of funny because back in the day, Nigel Farage went as far as to say we need an Australian-style point system as far as our immigration was concerned. He was even going as far as to say that Islam hates our culture and our societies. Now look where he is. He's basically not saying a single negative thing about the religion of peace, basically. You might as well give him one of those special little caps and that special outfit the Saudi Arabians have and call him nijel-al-faraji or something like that. Like, he has joined the Allen snack bars, quite frankly. If Nigel Farage has a problem with that, he has my email. In fact, anybody who's watched my videos will have my email. Give me a bell. Give me a fucking email. Show me that I'm wrong. Because the way I look at it, Nigel Farage, you have turned coat. That makes you a traitor. Nick Tenconi has the brass to be able to say all 39,000 of the Islamic extremists on the T-watch list, he will deport them. Where are you saying this, Farage? Because I'll tell you right now, while there are people of Islam who do not want to practice the extreme teachings of Sunni Islam, there are those obviously who see it as gospel, who see it as the only way forward, and will actively seek to commit jihad towards us dirty kafar. Rupert Lowe understands completely where this is going. Ben Habib understands where all this is going. I understand where all this is going. Nick Tenconi understands where this is all going. But Nigel Farage still hasn't read the room. He cannot, for the life of him, understand that we have a very, very big fundamental problem in this country that is partly the responsibility of illegal immigration, and it is part responsibility of some of the Islamic teachings here in the UK from those certain religions that preach peace, but in reality are about as peaceful as a raging inferno. And a lot of people are still fast asleep to that. But I reckon through whatever that thing was that Nick Tenconi calls it, basically everyone needs to spread the word. They know a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend and blah blah blah, and tell each and every one of them, who then gets the word out to every person that they know, that we live in a two-tier policing society, and I am completely unafraid to say that, even with a cop car behind me. But we do live in a two-tier policing society. We do have two-tier justice. We do have two-tier governing from Keir the traitor Starmer. And we effectively have people who want to see us, well, 6 feet under, put simply. That's the cold, bitter truth on the matter. And what are our police doing? What are our police doing? They are doing nothing. They are appeasing the religion of peace. When you cannot get rid of the Danegeld when you've paid the Danegeld himself. And I know people aren't going to like me saying this, but that's the thing. I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I'm not going to mince my words. I want to say it exactly how it is, and I will do my best not to bullshit you. Man, how many cars is that I've seen now? 3? 4? Christ. You'd almost think there was having a search party out for me. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, we don't have people who care about Britain. At least not in power, anyway. And the way I look at reform now, because Rupert Lowe's gone, they lost 20% of their parliamentary power. Think about it. Now that reform are down one man out of their 5, they're not going to have as much clout in the Parliament Square, the way I see it. Mind you, the whole Houses of Treachery, sorry, Parliament, or again, maybe I was right first time, they are a bunch of crooks. And realistically, there isn't many people in that place that actually believe in the British people or believe in Britain herself. What Britain needs is a strong leader. We need to dispose of the silk gloves and start ruling with iron fists. Because that's the only way that we're going to get rid of these third world shithole barbarians that is from the death cult of Islam. Everyone talks about what good things that Islam has done for us, but they're very reluctant to tell us all the bad things that Islam have brought with them. That is the thing. If you bring a third world culture to our lands, don't be surprised if they try to turn our country into a third world shithole. That is the cold, bitter truth on the matter, and there is nothing anyone is ever going to say otherwise that will convince me. But that's why Nick Tenconi understands this, and Nigel Farage doesn't. It is why people like Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe understand, and people like Yvette Clueless Cooper and Rachel Thieves don't. It is why people like myself understand the problems going on in this country, while Keir the traitor Starmer is too busy aligning himself with the enemy and, of course, the WEF. So what's the next move for Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib? Well, my personal bias, but my honest opinion as well, I personally think that those two need to join UKIP, because I see UKIP as people who actually have British people's interests first. They don't pussyfoot around the problems. They seem very robust, and they seem more than capable of making the hard decisions that our treacherous establishment will not. Nick Tenconi is a real firecracker, and I can see him being a very, very strong PM if he's elected into 10 Downing Street. Let's put aside these petty games about winning or losing. Last time I checked, this isn't checkers, this isn't Monopoly, this isn't Guess Who, this is the real fucking world. I got one of these buses again. Oh, I'm gonna have to put up with the tannoy girl again. Anyway, the truth is, we will not get out of this mess by continuing to treat this with a silk glove. If somebody's arm has been hacked off, you're not going to sit there and wrap it up with a ribbon and a bow tie. You're going to find a way to stop the bleeding. Thank you. You're going to find a way to stop the bleeding and then ultimately make sure the patient survives. Ever since we've had people like Sadiq Khan, like Keir the traitor Starmer in positions of power, we have seen this country degrade over time. And to be fair, the Conservatives are also partly responsible for this, as they've been a massive cock-up for the last 12, 16 years as well. But who are the ones in power right now? That would be the Labour Party. They are the ones who are effective. Thank you. The Labour Party are effectively the main party responsible right now who are effectively messing over and shafting the British people. We are effectively being run by people who despise our culture, despise our history, and despise us in general. We need someone who loves this country, who loves our way of life, who loves our history, even some of the bad bits every now and again, but more importantly, loves their own people. There is no love that is found in the Labour or the Conservative Party, quite frankly. I wish I could do this kind of thing without having to do this on a damn bus. That's the truth. I'd rather just be able to walk around some other place, somewhere private or whatever, and be able to say this stuff somewhere where maybe it couldn't hurt anyone. But the truth is, this country is in real danger, and we're not living in a time where we can tiptoe around the problems. We can't pussyfoot around it anymore. That's the truth on the matter. I see a country that is being sunk faster than the Titanic. I see a country that is being ripped apart at the seams by multiculturalism and this DEI woke nonsense that has done nothing but divide communities. But the big problem, more importantly, is people's apathy. People just don't want to worry about the world. People don't want to worry about their country that is going to shit. Even if fighting for their country would be directly beneficial for their life and their well-being. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to sit here and say all Nick needs to do is wave a magic wand and everything will be better. No, it's going to be very, very difficult. But what I will say is that it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time to build something up you love. It only takes seconds for people to destroy it. And what we're seeing right now is a country we've put thousands of years of blood, sweat, and tears, and I certainly have given enough of all of those. Basically, we're seeing 2,000 years be for nothing. We're seeing thousands of years go down the toilet. And I'll be clear, I don't want to be sitting here in, I don't know how many years it'll be, or months, or whatever. I don't want to be sitting here and saying, well, I told you so. But that's where we're heading. We're heading towards CW. We're heading towards a VR. And I don't want it, I will never advocate for it, and I will not justify it. However, you need to understand, Keir the traitor Starmer is pushing us to that route. His complete disrespect for the Brexit vote, the complete disrespect that he has for the British people, the complete disrespect that he has for political prisoners like Tommy Robinson, who is sitting in jail for contempt of court in a Category B prison for what is effectively a Category C at worst criminal offence. Civil offence, not criminal, apologies. But it's a Category C civil offence, or Cat D, if we were to really get serious, where Tommy shouldn't even be in jail, since most other journalists that get caught on contempt of court, they only get a fine. There has only been like 1 or 2 occasions where a journalist has gone to prison for contempt of court. And certainly not in the manner that Tommy Robinson has been put through the ringer. This is why we need to prepare for the absolute worst case scenario. Because I do think CW will be here before too much longer. Keir the traitor Starmer, of course, will try to bring in the army, but I doubt he'll have much success with them. And remember, the armed forces are about, I'd say 78,000, maybe 100,000 if they're lucky, tops. That's nowhere near enough. Oh, sure, they'll have guns, but we'll be in our hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Millions of patriotic people, and people from other countries who love our country, who might even be willing to fly over and help, seeing that our country is in massive turmoil. As I've said before, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. We need to make sure that we are able to stand and fight when the time comes. Because there is a time, as I've said before many, many times, where jaw has to give way for war. And do you think Islam is going to care how soft we're being right now? No, they see us as the enemy, they want to subjugate us, they want to conquer us, they want to take over the world. Worldwide caliphate. Key point, key word, world. They think themselves as superior. It's ironic when you think about it, because you hear a lot about white supremacy, and yet you very rarely see it in full display. Tell you what you do see in very common display, though, Islamic supremacy. Because they believe it's perfectly okay to beat your wife, to treat women as second-class citizens, which I am fundamentally against. They think it's okay that gay people should be given a free first-class ticket off the top of a building, or stoned to death. I'm not okay with that. Those are policies of a cult in the 5th century. And these are the things that are effectively Nigel Farage, if he's going to continue backing Zia Yusuf, he's going to be backing that. And that shit scares me. Why else do you think I say this is beyond winning and losing? This is a matter of the country's life or death that we're looking at here. So if you want real change, not the fake facade that Nigel Farage peddles, come over to UKIP. Join UKIP. When the elections come along, vote UKIP. Because they are the only party who have the British people and their best interests at the top of their list. They will put the British people first, sod everyone else. Brits first, and worry about everyone else later, basically. Think about it. All those statistics that I put out in the past about foreign nationals, 71% more likely to commit crimes related to sex. There are Eritreans and Afghanis who are 20 times more likely than British nationals to do that as well. There are, I believe, I'm trying to remember these off the top of my head again, but I believe it was like they are 25% more likely to commit crimes of theft. I believe it was like 69% more likely to be convicted on drug offences, and 39% more likely to commit crime and be convicted of any crime in general. 16.6 people per 10,000 British nationals get convicted. Around 2,547 or so, not Eritreans, what are they? Albanians get convicted per 10,000. 450 or so Vietnamese people out of 10,000 convicted. And then we have, what's the other one I'm thinking of, the 270? Somalians, that was it. Some 270 Somalians out of 10,000 convicted of crimes per capita. Bear that in mind. But apparently whites are the problem. Home truths have to be said. The word has to be spread out there. Because if we are all silent, how will our message get out? How will we galvanize a nation if our voice contains nothing but air? What do you think? And as I said, I don't want to have to do this on a bus. I'd rather do this somewhere private. I could, yes, technically do it while I'm at home, but bear in mind I have to live my life as well. I have to cook for myself, I have to clean for myself, I have to get myself in a good place to make sure I don't lose what little sanity I have left goes. I have to think about what other videos I'm going to be putting out as far as the current crisis in the UK is concerned. There are so many things I need to do. There are so many things I want to speak about. The way I look at it is this country, as I said, is sinking faster than the Titanic, and we have to do something about it. Nigel Farage isn't going to do it. God isn't going to do it. Keir the traitor Starmer isn't going to do it. So who are we left with? The simple truth is, UKIP are our last hope. But there is some good news. A bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. And that is...
The next stop is Hengrove.
No, that's not the good news. Shut up. The good news is the High Court has actually gotten involved in some of the policies that Keir the traitor Starmer wanted to impose. He wanted to overturn the Brexit vote. He wanted to get that Chiago Islands deal done. The High Court is blocking it. The High Court is going out of their way to fight this. and they are saying that what Keir the traitor Starmer is doing is unlawful and reckless. Bear in mind, this is the same court that was brought in by the war criminal Tony Blair. Thank you. Like the way I see it, there is a battle. Sorry. There is a battle going on, and we need to be prepared to fight it. We have... God damn it. That bus has given me hiccups. Anyway, we have to fight this battle no matter what it takes. Hook or by crook, we have to make sure this establishment does not sink us with this country. The only way we're going to do that is by getting tough, getting robust, and taking out the trash, metaphorically speaking. At least this High Court, though, is doing something right, even if this court was made by that war criminal, as I said. The bottom line is this is not going to change until such time as we make it change. Change does not happen on its own. Change happens when good men and willing, with stroke number 4, when good men and women do something about it. God, now they're going to say that I don't know what a woman is. Fuck me, I'm in trouble. Anyway, it only ends badly when good men and women do nothing. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep fighting no matter what it takes. As I said, I'm a man with little to nothing to lose. And I will do whatever it takes to make sure the word gets out to these Norwegians that I live with. Because the way I see it, this country, every county, every town, every city needs a hero. And while I may be a pretty fucking big one, I'm willing to be that hero that speaks up for Norwich. All I need is the go-ahead. All I need is the right number of people behind me. All I need is the strength to believe in the convictions I have. And I'm not talking about that time I stole a club bar from Asda. That was when I was 7, by the way, for context. But I have to be ready to fight this, because at the end of the day, if no one else is standing up to fight, who will? If we don't believe in ourselves, how can we expect others to believe in our cause?